Welcome to your first presentation for LSK3701 Science and Technology Teaching in the Foundation Phase. I am your lecturer, Mrs. A. Carrim, and you can email me on ecarrier1@unisa.ac.za. A very warm welcome to LSK 3701 Life Skills, Science and Technology in the Foundation Phase. To make sure you share our enthusiasm about this module, we urge you to work through this module thoroughly to gain meaningful insight to apply your knowledge in the workplace. Please keep in mind that each unit requires the necessary time and effort to be able to construct the necessary knowledge and develop skills required to gain a basic understanding of science and technology in the early grades. It is imperative to work through the learning unit content and take all the opportunities given through activities to explore the latest developments in this field. This will help you engage with the field of science and technology education for young learners as it is practiced today. So please don't hesitate to contact me should you experience any problems or need additional support. Okay, and here we come to the teaching and learning platform, which is the most important platform that you can communicate with me as your lecturer. Basically, there is a private chat that is enabled on the module site where you can directly communicate and respond as just like how you send messages through. I would respond in that manner. Discussion forums are also created. Please don't forget to check your announcements. This is a very important, as most important information will be shared with you to keep you updated throughout the year. Additional resources are also updated as we go along. Another important tool is the FAQs that will be used to basically address frequent questions that are constantly asked throughout the year as well within this module site. I have also created lessons from Learning Unit 1 to 6, where you will find content as per the study guide, as well as links to videos. So please visit the discussion forums as well as these lessons that are created by me for your assignment queries, for your exam queries, and also activities and self-reflective questions that will enable you to be constantly practicing within this module. Just remember, when it comes to Gmail accounts, if you're going to email me or email the university using your Gmail accounts, please bear in mind that we won't receive your emails. It's usually blocked off, or even if we do, we're not allowed to respond. This is in line with the POPI Act that the university has in most organizations are installing these days. Okay, so let's go down to basically our module. So begin with the end in mind. This is the reason why I say this is because at the end of the day, whatever you take in from this module, you will be practicing in the classroom. So remember, you want to be a reflective teacher, a teacher who brings in new methods of teaching and integrates language, mathematics, creativity, technology. All of that encompasses into this module, which creates a very good teaching methodology for you as new teachers that will be in the classroom. So remember, begin with the end in mind. Okay, this is a very important part where we talk about assessments. Remember, this is your assessment plan, as in you have an assignment 1, which is it's noted as a quiz, your MCQ, and your assignment 2, which is your essay type questions. Remember, I have a lot of students emailing regarding the tutorial letters. It has an open and closing date. So right now, assignment 1 and assignment 2 are not open. They have different opening dates. And once the assignment is ready for you to access, you will be able to go ahead and download your assignment, or with the quiz, you basically doing it online. So assignment 1 will be found under assessment 1, and then you start the quiz. And then assessment 2 you'll be given a tutorial letter where you download, and then you're able to have some time to complete the assignment and then obviously submit within that assessment shell. So basically, this constitutes your year mark of 20%. Each assignment would count 10%. I get students constantly, asking me whether these assignments are compulsory. Yes, they are compulsory. Please understand it's very important that you do both assignments. The online examination will count 80% for your exam, and it will take place within the September, October, November period. And bear that in mind when going through with this module. Problems with submissions. I want to address this issue early in the year. I usually do this within the assignment feedback, but I think it's very important that I go through this with students before you start this module. So late submissions, remember, if you're going to submit late and not take into account the due dates, you will not be given a chance to submit, whether by email or even on the assessment shell itself. It blocks off, so please bear this in mind. Incorrect assignments, we are constantly getting students submitting another module, or whether it's attaching a statement from a personal document. This is basically your responsibility to ensure that you submit the correct assignment. So once we receive this incorrect document, you will get a 0. So I would advise you to save your assignment under the module code, the assignment number, and your student number, so you well aware of what you're attaching on the submission portal. Corrupt files, remember, it's your responsibility to open the document and make sure that it is it's a document that can be marked by the university. Plagiarism is also picked up, and it can result in you getting a 0 for your assignment. We have obviously strategies that can allow us to see that students have copied, or so there is systems in place that can detect plagiarism. So please be aware of this. Also, if you're going to answer assignment questions directly from the study guide without showing application of knowledge, you will not be given marks for such information. So another thing I would advise you, do not wait until the last day and hour to upload assignments. We all know of the challenges that we're currently facing in our country, especially with load shedding. You never know when the connection can be low, whether we have extra additional data or computers are charged, we never know with the network. So please try to submit early. Don't wait for the last day, so you always have that breathing space, or that your assignment is submitted and you're not going to be affected by technical issues that can come unnecessarily. And obviously it may not be your fault. I do sympathize with my students when they do email me regarding the challenges, but like I said, I'm advising you early this year so that you don't get disappointed or you're not under pressure during submission. Another thing I believe is very important that I discuss with you is the application of knowledge. Remember, LSK3701 is at NQF level 7, which means that 50% of your questions will be at level 5 and level 6. And then obviously you have your level 4 and 3 questions, which will account for about 40%. And remember, when it comes to level 1 and 2 questions, you will only get about 10% of that type of questions. This is because obviously we want to, it's an exit module and it's on a high level. So remember, when I ask you the level 1 and 2 questions, it just be basically remembering and understanding, testing you on that. When you go into level 3 and 4, I'm expecting that you apply and you analyze the content. And obviously when we're going to level 5 and 3, it will be creating and evaluating. You'll be creating lessons, you'll be evaluating case studies. So just remember, this is a very practical module and you will have to understand the content. The purpose of this module. So remember, students who have completed this module successfully will be able to teach the relevant concepts and process skills related to science and technology within the foundation phase curriculum. So you will also be able to engage foundation phase learners to experiment, to discover, to explore their world using basic scientific processes such as observing, classifying, experimenting, predicting, drawing conclusions, communicating ideas to others. This is very important that we get our students to communicate, during our lessons, so they develop that confidence and are learning, and we are also establishing how much they know during this time. Furthermore, you will develop self-reflective practices to be able to mediate the science and technology curriculum through the application of appropriate teaching strategies and methodologies that basically suit different contexts. The resources for mediation will be obtained from different sources. Remember, you can find additional sources through online links and print media as well, whether it be articles. So those things can be shared with you through additional resources that I constantly update, like I said previously. And remember, when it comes to your exams, all of these will be adapted to diverse contexts. So you have to basically apply your knowledge to different contexts within the life skills, science and technology curriculum CAPS document. Okay, so let's look at the study materials required to get started in this module. Please ensure that you have the following materials: Tutorial Letter 101 and your LSK 3701 study guide. I have many students asking, where do I find this? So you get it under your official study material on the module site. You just need to click on it and download these two documents so that you can get started and start preparing for your first assignment, which would be your quiz. This module is divided into two sections. So, like I said, this presentation is just basically an overview of the module, just so you can understand what this module is about before we start with tackling each unit. So, section A is science education, which will have learning unit 1 to 3. And then section B will be your technology education, which you will have learning unit 4 to 6. The outline of this science section will be learning unit 1, which comprises of the nature of science and science learning. Then we go to learning unit 2, which is the components of science learning, and learning unit 3, which is planning for science teaching and assessment. We will then go to section B. This learning unit 4 is the problem-solving nature of technology education, and your learning unit 5, which encompasses digital technology, and learning unit 6, which is planning for technology teaching and assessment. So this outline of this presentation basically shows that learning unit 1, what is important to get from it is the scientific literacy. What is the nature of science? What is learning science through inquiry? What are your scientific concepts? How do concepts develop, with our learners? Conceptual change in the learning of science, and language and the learning of science, how it's integrated. Then we go to learning unit 2, where we learn about young learners, how they think, what is their thinking process in science, and how we can incorporate the big ideas or concepts when teaching, as well as scientific knowledge, the habits of mind and habits of body. This is very important to incorporate while we're teaching science and technology. And then your science process skills, which will go into more detail when going through the module, in the learning units. Learning unit 3, we're going to learn to develop learning using the curriculum as a starting point, and how we can approach to teach science to young learners, and the daily lesson planning, which is very important for inquiry-based theme planning, and then obviously how you can assess for your assessments for science learning. So learning unit 4, here we're going to define most of the learning units. We define concepts before we actually tackle the learning unit. The problem-solving nature of technology is very important, as well as the design process as taught in technology education. And then we look at the content areas for technology education, and basically how we can incorporate language and mathematics in technology education. Learning unit 5 would also be defining key concepts and understanding the fourth industrial revolution, the 4R, as well as digital technology and digital childhood. Remember, the students that we are teaching today are very digitalized in terms of using, iPads, computers, cell phones, all of that. They have been born with the screen, basically. So we have to adapt our teaching in that way. Digital literacy and the 21st century skills, digital resources for the foundation phase. We have to incorporate digital resources to make the lessons more effective and more creative and more, to basically gain their attention at the first introduction. The TPAC framework is very important to understand in Learning Unit 5. Then we go to Learning Unit 6, which we will learn about the design process skills, how to theme plan. That is very important, especially in your exams, based on the stages of the design process, integration within a theme plan based on the stages of the design process, and then obviously assessment in technology education. So remember, every learning goes through a type of whether it be informal or formal assessments at the end or during the course of the learning. So please understand that when you're going through the learning units, you need to be able to develop not only the learning plan, but also the assessments. Okay, so what we're going to just look at now quickly is the nature of science and science learning, which is Learning Unit 1, the outcomes. It's very important to understand the outcomes before you start going through the learning content. So in Learning Unit 1, we expect you to be able to analyze problem-based scenarios. So, whether it be in the environment, in the society, so that you can demonstrate the development of scientific literacy. And then we look at how it can how can students communicate ideas and opinions, about the nature of science and scientific literacy by, obviously, as a teacher, you need to communicate these ideas and opinions within the learning context so that they are able to do it as well. And this can be done by appropriate academic and professional discourse. And then you need to be able to identify and interpret scientific concepts in the science investigations. This is how you get students to, to understand the scientific concepts in a broader light. And then you need to be able to, give appropriate examples and get students to give examples to demonstrate their understanding of scientific concepts. And then obviously identify, interpret, and analyze children's thinking processes in relation to science. Once you understand how children think, this is where you can adapt your lessons and your assessments, that to basically allow learning to happen successfully. Learning Unit 2, these are your components of science learning. After having completed this unit, the outcomes expect that you can basically identify scientific concepts and science process skills in science investigations in order to teach science successfully, be able to cite appropriate examples that demonstrate the understanding of scientific concepts and science process skills. So just remember how many times I've been, repeating science process skills, scientific concepts. All of this will be very important for you to understand and apply, within this learning unit. Explain how scientific investigative skills affect children's understanding of the nature of science and scientific literacy, and also be able to use scenarios, and understand scenarios that you're able to identify, interpret, and analyze children's thinking processes within the learning of science. I know everything seems similar, but once you start, with Learning Unit 1, you will see how each unit, builds on the previous one. Learning Unit 3 is basically going into the planning for science teaching and assessment. So on completion of this learning unit, you would be able to analyze and compare the different teaching approaches, such as inquiry, integration of mathematics, language, and creativity, and a cultural historical perspective. So everything needs to be integrated, to create a broader understanding of this module. So identify suitable context for the application of these approaches. And you are, because this is an application module, you will have to suggest ways in which these approaches can be used successfully in a foundation phase classroom. Remember, through the use of examples, to cite the use of approaches appropriate to the learning context, and also compile reports in which you demonstrate the ability to design your own practice based on known teaching theories. Theme planning, like I said, is very important according to the interpretation of learning theories. Within the CAPS document, you will see different themes that that teachers go through to gain that understanding and organizing lessons within that theme plans per week. So you need to demonstrate an understanding of the integration of science and technology through theme planning and apply your understanding of the assessment of science learning in the foundation phase. Then we go to learning unit 4. This is the problem nature of technology education. So on completion of this unit, we expect that you be able to analyze and evaluate problem-based scenarios, on the basis of planning appropriate solutions. So every time there's a problem, you need to find some solution to it and get our learners to understand that when they face with problems, what are the steps that they need to take to find a solution and to be able to move forward and work through these problems that society and environment may throw at them at any time in whether it be school or whether it be in the community. So they need to apply appropriate problem solving strategies and obviously give examples. Plan and write paragraphs to communicate ideas and opinions about technological literacy using appropriate academic and professional discourse, analyze and interpret and make comparisons of different teaching approaches. So you as a teacher need to understand the different teaching approaches and, whether it be a technological problem solving, integration of mathematics, language, creativity, and cultural historical perspective. You need to integrate all of this, and form an understanding and obviously, when it comes to foundation phase learners, we need to be creative in the classroom and create lessons that bring that gain our students' attention and make them want to learn in our classroom. So you need to identify suitable context for the application of these approaches. And you also need to identify the strengths and the limitations of each approach. So, every teacher uses different approaches. Maybe one approach would work in your classroom, but would not work in another teacher's classroom. So there's always strengths and limitations of each approach that you learn through experience. And that's when you can suggest ways in which approaches can be used successfully in a foundation phase classroom. This can also be done through the use of examples to cite the use of an approach appropriate for the learning context. So you know what to use in future, if something doesn't work when once tried in your classroom. Learning unit 5 is digital technology. Remember, on completion of this learning unit, you need to describe the terms of ICT, the fourth industrial revolution, digital childhood, be able to explain the concept of digital literacy, and basically differentiate between technology as a subject and digital technology. So, as a teacher, you need to identify and assess a variety of technological resources for the early years. So you need to find resources that are suitable for your foundation phase learners. And also, to be able to do this successfully, you need to understand the skills needed for the 21st century, I know many students are already technologically literate because they're exposed to technology quite early compared to the previous generations. And obviously, this is where you need to understand the TPEC framework in technology-based teaching and learning. So this will give you a better understanding of how to incorporate technology in your classroom and basically argue for or against the use of digital technology in the early years. So the question is it benefiting our learners to use digital technology so early in their schooling career, or or we still to understand this, but like I said, the future of our world, of our country, is going into the digital age, and this is where we need to incorporate technology into our classrooms so that our students are not left behind and are able to adapt to the current environment. We can't only look at what worked before. We need to look at the context now and get our students ready and able to to be able to work in a world that is full of technology in every passing day. Okay, so learning unit 6, planning for technology teaching and assessment. On completion of this learning unit, you should be able to identify and interpret technology process skills in design activities. This is the problem solving approach that you will see. And obviously, again, examples are very important to demonstrate an understanding of the concepts and process skills, and also to analyze and interpret technological problem solving and the integration of, here again, mathematics, language, creativity, and also identify suitable context, that we can apply these technological problem solving approaches, and again, integrating mathematics, language, and creativity. You can see how this module wants you to integrate these other learning areas so that it can create a broad understanding of science and technology. So you need to compile research reports in which you demonstrate the ability to design your own practice based on these problem solving approaches, and again, integrating all of these different learning areas, and apply your understanding to assessment of technology education in the foundation phase. So that's it for the outcomes. Now we need to understand that you need to keep in mind that you will be expected to apply your knowledge, your knowledge and your skills gained in this module in the teaching practice component linked to this module, which means that everything you do in this module, you will apply it in your teaching practice modules and be able to, start experiencing all of these teaching approaches in your classroom. Thank you for listening to this presentation. It basically just gives you an overview of this module, but I trust that it will give you the insight that you need so that you're ready to tackle Learning Unit 1.